The city of Amsterdam has always been a love in my heart since 1990. I first came here when I was doing a residency at a small club in Brighton, and I had a record out on XL Recordings, and I came here saying, hey, you should book me. So I came to Amsterdam. I don't know why I came to Amsterdam. I don't know why I didn't go to Paris, or I just came to Amsterdam. And I don't do drugs because that's what everyone thinks about Amsterdam. And I just came here and I asked if I could have a gig, and the club owner of Richter's in Regulus Dorstraat said that I could do a gig there. And I think that was 2 months later. So it was before faxes, internet. You had to physically go over and do this. And I said, this is my record, this is what I'm doing. And he gave me the chance. It wasn't a particularly good night. No one, of course, had heard of me. But I fell in love with Amsterdam. And it was a bit scruffier in the 90s. It's still squats and a bit rougher. And I just fell in love with the place. And I would always say, hey, I want to live here, I want to live here, I want to live here. And sort of forgot about it for a while because life caught up with me. I ended up getting married unwisely, and then had some sort of like a life like that, and then I got divorced, and then I fell in love with the Dutch girl, and that didn't last very long, but coming over here backwards and forwards, I fell in love with Amsterdam. Really fell in love with Amsterdam. I thought, this is something new for me. And a friend of mine, I was lying on the kitchen floor in England, thinking, what am I going to do with myself? Because I don't really want to stay in England, but I don't want to move up to London, I don't want to go here, I don't want to go to New York. And he just said, just go to Amsterdam. I was like, try. So I tried, and I was going backwards and forwards for quite a few years, and I tried, and I really fell in love with the place. And I don't need a car over here, which is really a special thing, because in England everything is like a miniature America. You need cars for everything, really. And public transport works over here. Everyone speaks English, which I know is an awful thing for an English person to say, but it's true, it helps. It's very international here, although I actually made sure that for the first few years of me being here that all my friends were not expats but were Dutch people, because I didn't want to be in that expat world of another circle. And flying from Schiphol made my life a lot easier, because I used to fly private planes a lot because it was just difficult in the UK to do my schedule. And I just fell in love with the place more and more and more. It's super international here. I get incredible Italian food from a real Italian delicatessen. The stuff's driven up twice a week. And there's good Asian food restaurants here. And it's where my heart is. You can't really put down a mathematical formula as to why. And sometimes, I was talking to one of the guys on the panels, and he was like, you should just run on instinct and not think too much. And this is one of the decisions that I did based on instinct after thinking too much, but I did the decision on instinct and I've never regretted it. And I just feel very comfortable here. I'm not here for the music scene at all, because whilst it's really, really important for some people to be part of a scene, they go to Berlin because they want to be part of the music scene. I came here because actually I wanted to be part of a cultural city and enjoy it. And I still have a smile every time I walk through the Rijksmuseum that the victory was won for the bicycle path. And I have a smile when I go through there. It's like, fuck, I live in this city. Just look at this place. And there's a libertarianism that's here, which ultimately people think, yeah, because of drugs. It's not. There's a common sense approach to the majority of things, at least from my perspective, where you can live your life a little bit freer. So for example, a lot of the canals, silly things, a lot of the canals are one way. But if you see a parking spot at the beginning of a canal, you can drive that other way and park it the other way around, and you won't get a parking ticket. Whereas in the UK, you will get a parking ticket because you did something wrong. But it's not affecting anyone. So you're almost left with that. You can do something a little bit wrong, but as long as it doesn't affect anyone, it's actually okay. We can deal with it. It's okay. And there's a freedom of cycling around. I feel even though tax rate here is higher than it is in the UK, you get more value for money for your tax. So when I had a car accident, for example, in Serbia, I came back here, instantly X-ray. And if ever I have a medical thing, it's done instantly. Whereas in the UK, you pay tax, and if you're ill, you have to almost forecast being ill. So you write in your diary, I think I'm going to be ill in 3 days, and then you have to book ahead to see the doctor. And there's too much racism in the UK now as well, and I'm just super happy here. I can talk about it forever because it's from the heart. I just love being here. The weather sucks like shit. Every single year it tricks you. It's summer. No, it's not summer. Shit. Yeah, it's summer. No, it's not summer. And then when all your wishes for a good summer have gone, and you don't even hope for one anymore because you just had a month of shitty fucking rain, then it comes and you're just like, okay, we have summer now. It's a lovely place. It's great. I don't mean to be difficult on this. I do not purposely book female DJs. I do not purposely book female DJs. I book DJs. I'm not going to go for I'm a pro woman DJ promoter. No, it's just based on talent. I don't believe in because it's a female DJ, you book a female DJ because you want female DJs. It's like Estro is a super fucking cool DJ. She's been on the lineup, every single lineup apart from the first one, I think, because she's a good fucking DJ. Rebecca is a good fucking DJ. Miss Kitten is a good fucking DJ. Louisa is a good fucking DJ. And that's all that anyone in the world needs to have. If they look at talent, you don't look at it on colour, creed, sex or anything. It's just purely on talent. So I'm sorry to be a little bit argumentative on that, but I have to be, because it's the wrong approach, because they tried that, I think, in female politics in the UK, where you have like a more female approach, so we must have maybe 5 cabinet members that are female. No, it's, unless there's like a real difficulty in getting the numbers through the door. So maybe in politics it works better that way because of the whole Etonian system in the UK of male camaraderie that happens in politics. But we're modern people. We're working in the music industry, and the music industry isn't just supported by female support from agents and stuff. There's female acts, and they demand and deserve as much respect as the male acts, and I feel really strongly on that. I don't disagree, I don't agree. It was a title given to me by a great man. You're not going to argue with that. You're going to take that on the chin and you're going to go, hey, it's what John called me. And it's what loads of northern fans in the UK call me, loads of Scottish fans, and loads of Irish fans, they called me that. They would chant that afterwards because they would hear it on my Essential mix, and then the internet happened, then it translated across, and it's what a great man gave me. And it's, if John Peel calls you something, you keep it. I don't have heroes in my own world. I have people that I respect massively. I respect Louisa massively because she just comes at it from her own angle, and so I respect her massively. I respect almost everyone that I book. I respect because of what they've done. I don't have anyone that I put on a pedestal within the techno world above me or beneath me, or it's just pure respect. Worlds that I'm not involved in, that's a whole different thing. So on my biggest musical pedestal of all time will be PJ Harvey, because that is just pure genius in every essence of every essence. So that sort of pedestal placing scares me, but in my mind she deserves it. Same for Nick Cave, actually, and the same for some artists, same for some architects. But within my own world, I am in my own world, and I've been doing this for 25 years, and I don't have anyone in my mind that I think that's the person at all. I'm not getting married, no, but it's affecting my career. I would change that because of a variety of personal reasons. I would have changed that. Other things that I would have done, no, I don't regret anything, actually, because I feel I've been true to myself, and I think every artist has their own battles, every artist has their own resolutions to those battles and compromises. I don't compromise. I think it's physically impossible for me to compromise. And if I was to regret doing some things, then I should have compromised, and I don't think I should have compromised. I think I've done things the way I should. I think that maybe I should explain myself more clearly so that I'm not seen as this moody person all the time, but someone that likes to have their own space and backstage and to be quiet and not really be that social, because I need that for my own energy. But I wouldn't have changed anything. I think the best development is still developing is technology, and you can also argue that's the worst development as well. The best development because it's allowing us to have a bigger imagination, and hopefully for some people to use that imagination as well. So the technology that's available for us now is something that I always dreamed of, and yet at the same time things like Beatport replacing record shops, it was inevitable it was going to happen. Maybe if I'd have been in charge of Beatport, I'd have had a stricter A&R policy, a stricter genre labelling policy. But then you're a gatekeeper for something which is open source, so that doesn't really make sense. So technology, every development that's good can be also bad, and can be bad and can be good. Of course you want me to talk about EDM, you want me to talk about, fuck those guys, I don't really care. It's, give them oxygen to talk about it in a legitimate process. It doesn't make any sense. Social media, I think, I don't know, social media it's an interesting one. It's enabled us to be more global and more worldly, but it's also made us much more macro in our approach, micro in our approach, and we sometimes fail to see the bigger picture because of social media as well. So I think you just have to take a balance of everything. Maybe without social media, people would have been seeking music and would have been much more fan-based and less on the cusp of an emotional wave of other people doing it, and you never know. I wouldn't say solely responsible, but I would say a very strong corner. Sadly inevitable. It's one of those weird things where you can have a shock and it's not a surprise. So, because you see the way that the UK clubbing scene was going, so at some point something would happen, but it's still a shock, but it's not a surprise. It's a shock because you never wanted it to happen, but it's not a surprise because you could feel it was going to happen. And I think it's highly unfortunate because their booking policy, the way they run the club, the people that work there are passionate. I mean, it's not an easy thing to keep playing for a club for 15 years like I've been doing, 2-3 times a year, and to still have a relevant club that people still go to, that it's seen as an important part of the infrastructure of UK clubbing. So what they've done with their whole vision can only be applauded. The way that the sound was really, really important can only be applauded. The way that they kept it underground at times of recession can only be applauded. But life can bite you on the arse sometimes, and to be a scapegoat for unfortunate deaths, for people taking drugs when people take drugs in Parliament, people take drugs as a journalist when they're on the plane interviewing the Prime Minister, and does that mean that if the person that was taking drugs died on the plane that they should stop all planes travelling with Prime Ministers and journalists? Should they close all prisons because people are smuggling drugs in via drones? It's a bullshit approach, and the UK has been heading head on for a collision with far right ideology, and it's happening more and more. And of course, with far right ideology, there's less room for people to culturally get together. I mean, don't forget, dance music was a massive catalyst for bringing races together in the UK. Of course, sadly, even though I've only taken it once in my life, I have to admit ecstasy also played a part in that. But it was a place where people got together. It's a place as a youngster that I got together and I learned that there was a gay scene and there was a gay music scene. And you wouldn't necessarily know that if you just stay in your safe environment where you're not allowed to see anything else. And the more closing down of culture and society in the UK, the more insular it's going to be for the UK. And that will develop into great songwriting for some people that are worldly travelled, and maybe that will influence it again in the same way that when I was growing up we were doing Black and White United Fight, Stand Down Margaret Please by The Beat, Billy Bragg, all these people talking about relevant things that are happening. Maybe that will happen again, but right now I think the UK, and I say we, I don't know why, because I don't live there and I don't want to live there anymore, but I think the UK is maybe heading towards a 10 or 12 year cultural vacuum, and that makes me incredibly sad, because we had Enoch Powell doing his Rivers of Blood speech, but without these people that came into the UK that the UK colonialisation raped financially, as much as the Dutch system has, as much as the French system has, without these people coming in, the music scene would not have been as vibrant as it had. You wouldn't have had Don Letts being part of the punk scene, bringing in reggae, Public Image having reggae bass lines, people being tolerant of each other's creed. You wouldn't have had that. And I dread to think that the UK, and finally, surprise, surprise, they've just worked out it's based on austerity, which is a government policy, is going to head towards blaming other people. Like every fucking time there's a war, every time people don't have as much money as they think they should have, not worked for necessarily, blame it on immigrants, blame it on the fact that the Polish people, who happen to be very good painters and decorators and plumbers and obviously good people, but they do these jobs that other people don't want to do, or they do it at a cheaper rate, and English people will hire them, so the English people that hire them are responsible for maybe cutting rates. These things that are going to happen now, it's fucking sad, it's awful. And blaming it not on the reality of the situation, the reality of the situation is being fucked up the arse without lube by the politicians in the first place. I got my political piece in. You know I don't listen to advice. When I was starting up, I didn't listen to advice at all. I just did what I did. And I got it wrong, and I got it right, and I got it wrong, and I got it right, and that's how you learn. Advice, the only advice I would give is just be yourself, and don't try and emulate someone completely. But I can't even remember if anyone gave me a bad piece of advice, and I don't think I ever took it. So.